simple Chrome extension, task manager. We are going to allow people to put up tasks and they'll check mark or cancel the task once they're done. Okay, and it'll have some amount of persistence, which means that if you close the browser and come back, hopefully the tasks are still there, right? We'll engineer it for this. Okay, so I'm going to open this scary looking thing. It's called WSL. This allows you to run a Linux terminal inside Windows. It's actually a little more complicated than that, but in short, it allows me to interact with all the Python scripts that Small has in its nice little repository.
Okay.
I'm already in the Small folder.
Okay.
And now we are going to generate what you want. Tell me what you want.
How do we get to this part?
So to get here, you need to download something called WSL. If you're on Windows, just go to Google, type WSL. You'll find install Linux on Windows with WSL. Just install this. Once you finish installing this, there's like a process you go through. You will immediately have this thing. And once you have this prompt, you can just go to your Windows and type WSL. Start menu, it's lagging. But anyway, you type WSL, you arrive here. Then what you do is you find the repository you want to interact with. Okay. And before that, there are a couple of things you need to do, right? Like you need to create a virtual environment, because if you don't create a virtual environment in Python, it can sometimes get really messy, especially if you're working with multiple repositories. So we use something called Conda. Let me just show you what the process is. Let me just restart WSL from scratch. Okay. So I'm going to start WSL. I'm just going to go to the place that I want to. Okay. This is the repo. Now, as you can see, it says base here. Okay. What we want is, we wanted to activate the environment that we have. So we're going to type conda activate small3. I've already created an environment called small3. We're not going to go into what it's like to actually create an environment, but you can Google it. It's fairly simple, right? It's a Python 3.9 environment for those of you that are technical. But if you're not technical, it doesn't matter, because one day there's going to be a UI on top of small, and it's probably going to be in the next few days. We are only probably going to build it if nobody else does.
If the idea is to get me to build an app, it's just
you need it to be simpler.
I want everything to be a chat interface. Everything.
Exactly.
I just type it down and it just happens.
Yeah, but you see, a lot of people who are making money in AI right now are building simple tools that are, they're making 100K, 200K a year. And it's all just user interfaces or chat interfaces on top of many of these repositories that already exist. It's really, there is an opportunity in doing that, right? Like people think it's all about engineering. It's about presenting that engineering to your user in the right way. So I've activated this environment called Small. You don't need to go into, how to activate environments and stuff. Or rather, you just type conda activate small3 now. And by the way, for those of you that are here so far, don't get confused. This doesn't matter, because there is going to be a UI on top of this. Okay. Now we are going to run a script. We're going to say Python. Okay, that invokes Python. It allows us to run whatever Python file we want. And there's one called main_no_modal.py. Okay, and we put in a prompt here. Okay, manifest v3 Chrome extension. And I'll tell you why I wrote manifest v3 instead of just Chrome extension. Because remember that it's using a lot of past data, and Chrome doesn't use v2 anymore. And most of the stuff that you make with this will end up being manifest version 2. You don't need to know what it is. Just know that you need manifest version 3 to make Chrome extensions in today's day and age.
Okay.
So a manifest v3 Chrome extension, that is a task manager. It allows the user to write in tasks and with check marks next to them. When a task is complete, the user can
tick off
the
task.
There's one more thing I want to ask it to do is, I want it to be a certain minimum size, right? Make sure the pop-up is at least 600x 400. Right, so let's start with this. 1 second. I just need to put in my OpenAI key. By the way, I want to show you how I debug stuff. Okay, I'll copy paste this. I'll go to chat.openai.com. Okay, I'll just paste the error in. This is how I use this thing, by the way, GPT now. Okay, and it'll tell me what the issue is. There's no OpenAI API key in the environment. Okay, so I need to set the OpenAI key here. Okay. Or I need to do this, because we're on a Linux environment technically because of WSL. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. Okay, I'm just clearing it out. I just inputted my API keys so that you guys don't see it. Now I'm just going to press the up key and it's going to show me what I last wrote. I'm going to press enter and it has begun. Hi, it's me, the small developer. You said you wanted a manifest v3 Chrome extension that yada, 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 and it has started. Okay. So it is, the prompt for it is you are an AI developer who's trying to write a program, blah, 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 blah. It's not showing the entire thing, but that's not because it's not working. It's because it's been truncated there. And as you can see, it's already started saying what the structure of the thing needs to look like. You need a manifest file, you need a pop-up, you need a JS for it, you need the CSS for it. You don't need to get into what these terms are. It probably doesn't matter so much to you right now because it's just going to generate the thing out of thin air. Okay. So let's go through what it's thinking about. Okay. The app is a manifest v3 Chrome extension. There is a task manager. Okay. It allows the user to write tasks, blah, blah, blah. So what are the dependencies? Okay, what are the variables it needs? For example, it knows the task list is a variable, which is an array. It's a variable of type array. You don't need to know what this is for now. And it's figuring out everything, right? What are the ID names of the elements in that small little pop-up that it gives you? All of it, right? It's also creating the function names to create a task, to add a task, to toggle task completion, and to update the task list, right? When you finish toggling something. Right? So now it's creating the manifest for you, as you can see. Takes a little bit of time. Okay, now it's starting to write the code for the HTML of the pop-up, right? So what's going in the pop-up? What are the different parts of the pop-up? What's going to be in the body? What are the buttons? What are the text at the top? All of that stuff is being created for you.
Okay, so while this is writing the code on the side and finishing its tasks, how is this better than AutoGPT? AutoGPT is something similar, right? Like you also create a list of tasks and it does it.
Yeah. So the difference between this and AutoGPT is this is writing code for you. It understands the dependencies between the different sides of what it's writing. Like if it's putting in 5 different files, it's tying those files up together. It's making sure the dependencies are solved and it's making sure you have something you can actually use.
Okay. And this needs lesser human intervention than AutoGPT?
This needs lesser human intervention than AutoGPT. See, I'll tell you the problem with AutoGPT. The problem with AutoGPT is it can get sidetracked because there's recursion going on. At every step, there is now a slight chance it could go on some tangent. Now, if it goes on a tangent in that second step, in the third step, it'll go on an even more tangent. So every step, there's an exponential chance
of it going like 1 degree earlier means it'll be 15 degrees by the end of it. Got it.
Exactly, right? But with this, it sticks to the line of code. It makes sure that its domain is, hey, I'm building an app. You're writing code. You are an AI developer that does blah, 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 blah. And the implementation of this is very similar to Baby AGI. In fact, the person who wrote this also contributed to the Baby AGI repo. Right? Okay, so interesting, whatever. By the way, now it's creating the CSS for us. As you can see, this is
what is the styling?
CSS? So if HTML is the building block of a page, let's say all the boxes, how those boxes look, not the structure, but how they look. The prettiness, whether they have a border, the elements inside them, how much distance they have from the left to the right. All that is determined by CSS. So it's generating the CSS for us. In fact, my only complaint with this is it's slightly slow. Otherwise, it's like brilliant.
Building something like this, if you have to do it manually, how long would this take you?
A task manager that does all of these things and has a little bit of persistence would couple of days.
But one single human would be able to do it.
Yes. Where I think this starts getting useful is you can give it a laundry list of things you can do, which a normal human would have spent a lot of time building up, right? So it can help where there isn't an insane amount of depth required, but a lot of width and a lot of, we call this boilerplate, right? Like stuff that you repeat in every project.
Correct.
You'll have to create authentication all over again from scratch. You'll have to create database connections all over again from scratch. So it can write a lot of that for you. That's what we call scaffolding in Rails as well. And the only function is speed your time up. But for people who have simple app requirements, something like this is actually pretty useful, right? If you don't care about modifying it any further, and this is the difference between art and code, right? With art in AI, I can ask Stable Diffusion or Midjourney to generate unlimited variants and I just pick the best one. Okay, I'm making a selection. Here, you can't create 50 different code bases and pick the right one. You'll probably use one that you're kind of happy with and then you say, I'm going to modify this, right? That modification requires intelligence. It requires you to understand code. This is why I keep saying, right? Coders are going nowhere. In the sense, we still need engineers who can
Correct.
take a code base, understand what's going on. You want to change something, where do you change it?
You still need to understand code. But even with Stable Diffusion, you or Midjourney, right now, you ask it to make variations and then you're sort of stuck with it.
Yeah.
Whereas if that art was like a code base, you can literally take the image and fix minute details inside it, which right now as an artist you can't.
Yes. Unless you break it down to multiple parts, which there is a tool to do that, which we're probably going to show you today as well. But the idea is, its code is very different from art because you can't just generate 50 variants and say, I like this one the most. Right? That's the problem. You still need to understand how to write code to build on top of this.
How is this different from, like, say, a GitHub Copilot?
It's different from GitHub. You know, even when we write code now, we ask GPT-4 and Copilot to generate a lot of it. But the advantage of this is it ties it up into an entire package for you. Right? All the dependencies are figured out. It's not just generating one file for you or sections of code, it's generating the entire code base. Right? And then you can just dump it into Chrome. Okay, we're done. Okay. Shall we try it?
Yeah. So what's the next step now? It's written all the code for you. Now what?
So now we go to Chrome.
Okay.
Okay. We click extensions, manage extensions. We load this extension. Okay. By the way, this has an error. It says service worker is background.js. Now you can dump it back in. You'll have to reprompt it. But instead of that, we have pretty much exactly the same thing. Let me just put it back here. 1 second. Okay. So we take this, we upload it, a simple task manager Chrome extension. Okay. And it should be there. Now what we need to do is we need to open this and we put our task manager. Okay. It clearly has ignored this thing of 600 to 400. I should have been more, I used the word verbose, but I should have been more clear about it. Like, what do I mean by 600, 400? This is why prompting is very important. Tanmay, tell me a task you have in mind.
8 noodles.
8 noodles. Oh, look, a task appeared.
Oh, nice.
Next.
Eat noodles. Drink Diet Coke.
Drink Diet Coke. Subscribe to Overpowered.
God
Okay.
damn it, that should have been the first one.
Added 3. And now let's see if it works.
You click and it disappears. Nice.
It's not just disappeared. It's like added the strike through. I didn't ask it to do that. Right? Eat noodles, strike through. And let's see if it works if I, restart the browser, right? Let's see if it has persistence. I'll close the browser, open it back up, and click here, Task Manager.
Still there. Nice.
Ta-da!
Cool.
Your very own personal task manager.
Cool.